in the Indian Wars. They quickly gained the pioneer skills needed to survive in this new harsh environment, but they retained Old World folkways as well. Their German ways remain particularly strong in some areas, and their Old World folklore continues as a presence in their belief systems. Johnny Arvin is the keeper of local history in this neighborhood. All through life, Johnny listened and remembered. He didn't learn it from books, he learned it from people.
Now, Johnny, what do you think? Johnny's about 115 years old, right?
No, that guy's 47.
Oh, okay. 47. Sorry. It's hard living. Hard living for Johnny.
Stories with Daddy said.
My daddy said that.
Daddy. Daddy.
Mama said. Mama said.
That's Jeffrey's brother.
Right. Daddy Dahmer.
A piece of cloth that laid the closest to the rupture. You see, the curing for rupture in that case.
My father used some sign cures. Like one was rupture.
And there's then a little meadow, and there's a plug in an apple tree there. I said, Bill, what is that doing now? I'm going to pull out. Oh, I said, don't pull that out. Said, Dad put that there. Said, don't pull it out.
And one old gentleman told him one time, oh, yes, he said, I know your dad. He said, I had a kid was ruptured one time.
Is that English?
You guys had a kid. I'll translate. He had a kidney ruptured one time.
Daddy, pull that witch on down out that apple tree.
Yeah.
Right
Hey,
now.
and by the way, screw off, Nikki. I see you in your fuck you city slickers comment here. I live way out in the boondocks, but somehow I'm still intelligible. Okay.
Yeah. And I have a deep love for Appalachia, the culture and the people and the music too, the bluegrass.
Yeah. Now this is pretty. This what they do get into here is pretty interesting because it is literally like this is like a cultural study sponsored by the National Endowment for the Arts or whatever. But they are going to talk about some pretty rare. I mean, even being from not from there, but from close to there, like a lot of this stuff I never heard of. And it's one thing they already brought up that's pretty interesting is they talk about the German influence, and I think that often gets lost in translation because when you think of like Appalachian, you think of the Scots-Irish. And not the Germans were like 25% of the country in the Revolutionary War. There's a huge population. So a lot of the occult stuff they're going to talk about comes from the old country. So
so I got it. Okay. So of course, Germans have to be involved. Is there a Nazi Appalachian witch link is the real question here, right?
Well,
that's the real question.
You see, Portler, he skipped on down to Kentucky after the war.
Well, there is one thing that I've heard about this. Like she was just talking about the Indian Wars, and one interesting thing is that like the Germans
by Nazis, obviously.
The Germans and the Scots-Irish, they had like this leapfrogging thing where the Germans basically would go out and they'd make a fort. They're going into the wilderness and they'd make a fort, and they would do their thing, and then the Scots-Irish would come and they would kill everyone, and then they would leapfrog. So then the Germans would go further and the Scots-Irish would come and take it over and then kill everybody and then keep going. And that's sort of the way that it progressed westward.
No shit. Well,
yeah,
Nikki says Pennsylvania Dutch are heavy in Appalachia.
Yeah. It's funny because, like Appalachia is so big. It goes, it runs the whole length of the East Coast, and then cuts through my territory. But one thing that I think people don't know is this is pretty interesting. They never talk about this in the documentary, and I learned this when I was in school in Northern Ireland. Is that the term hillbilly comes from the Ulster Scots? It comes from the Scots-Irish because when they came over after the late 1680s and 1690s into the 1700s, William of Orange had taken over that's like William and Mary in the university in Virginia. But William and Queen Mary, they got him from Holland, and he fought to rebuff the Catholic James II in his invasion of Ireland. And then he fought at the Battle of the Boyne. But the people who are the loyal followers of King William they're called Billy Boys. And so the Scots-Irish, because it was the Northern Irish, the Ulster Scots, and the Scottish came over to this country, and they lived in the hills, so they're called hillbillies. Is where the term comes from.
Yeah, we got a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch over by me as well. I live right on the border of Pennsylvania, and every time I go down there to deliver, I see the Amish everywhere, man. Amish, Mennonites, all of them.
Well, so people are always asking me why I drink Miller instead of the good stuff. It's because my wife is Michigan Dutch, right? So I don't know if anybody knows, but their reputation for thriftiness precedes them. Their reputation for thrifty. You can almost liken it to another group of people. This type of thriftiness that is thrust on the Dutch in Michigan. Just say it.
Now
Just
I
saying.
thought you drank Miller because it's the champagne of beers and you fancy boy. Everybody else I know be drinking Beast Light or Olympia.
She tricked
I
me.
drink PBR.
Hang
bro.
on, hang on. She tricked me because
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
she tricked me because I'm a stupid Irishman, and she's like, "See, it says champagne of beers right here."
That's right.
Without having the church, anybody can just kind of run with the stuff. And
They can write your ticket. Don't talk to nobody.
Yeah, this lady's wild.
Now, this lady looks like a stereotypical witch. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
Okay.
He said unto thee, get thee hence, Satan, for it.
Like, I mean, Hansel and Gretel went in this chick's oven for sure. Right? I mean, that's how bad. Like, if I was going to tell that tale, I would bring her up and put her in the picture book to read the kids to scare them. Right? That I don't think I'm off base here.
It is written, thou shalt worship thy Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then you put their name. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. You take your auger and go to the oak tree and bore a hole in the tree. Stick your ticket in there, and then take you an iron rod.
Can I point out that there's a sound of water running right now for no particularly good reason that I can ascertain?
She's filling her cauldron, dude.
There's an H.P. Lovecraft like lizard man aquarium in the background, and she's got like a dream catcher with dirty clothes above her.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it about. And then you take the baby blood and then you stick it in where you augured the tree, right? And then you take the hair of the newt and
Why is there water running? I don't.
Whoever does it.
Do you know how long it takes to fill a cauldron? Dude?
Either fall, hurt yourself.
6 seconds. Go ahead.
Listen, boys. My daddy was a dungeon master for the whole town. He gave me a pair of 50-sided dice. Shouts out to JD.
A bush of wheat, a bush of rye. Whoever isn't hit, holler aye. And here's how we changed it: a bushel of wheat, a bushel of oats. Whoever isn't ready, isn't hit, call old man modes.
Boy, he's just
See how we
tickling.
changed it? See how the children had in their mind?
Yeah, see how they changed it? This guy really just
Several
tickled
little
himself,
times.
didn't he? He just really tickled himself with his own little joke there. He was pretty proud of himself. Did you see how we changed it? Did you? We made that rhyme. We made it into an entirely other rhyme. Aren't you impressed, documentary filmmaker lady? And she's like, yes, I'm very impressed, Billy. You've done a fantastic job.
He's like,
here, Billy."
listen, we keep talking. We got a lot of money to make this. Keep talking.
Oi, we've got so much money we have to
I
make.
gotta
off
go
of
back
this
to the
docu-
Upper West Side. 100 years ago, like there was one picture, right? And the one picture was of like your great granddad, and he was like this. And it was like he had to stand there for 7 hours, and he was in a hurry because he had to get back and slop the hogs.
Right. But I mean, I just love the, it just cracks me up. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know
know,
why.
the people who made this were like, look, do we need to take the cameras down there? No, we're just gonna hook up an old Polaroid and run a video through it. It'll be fitting.
Think of the money we're gonna make.
Yeah, this is definitely
much.
Larry David's best work, I think,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
How do we make them look crazy?
This book had wide distribution in Switzerland and in Germany, from which numerous Appalachian families immigrated. Its depictions of women as the evil corrupters of mankind, along with the artwork of the period showing women making pacts with the devil, sealed their fate. Down through the years, women, and to a lesser extent men, have paid an awful price. It is estimated that 400,000 witches were killed during the Inquisition, mostly through burning and hanging after being.
Okay, so I looked into this number, and there ain't no way 400,000 women were killed during the Inquisition as accused witches. There's no records anywhere that are produced that show a number anywhere near that. Anywhere near it.
Where do you think they get that number?
Well, I mean, it's pretty hotly contested, but it's basically an estimate. You know what I mean? You know how it is now? It's like when they go, most rape cases go unreported. So
Right.
therefore, like 1 in 4 women have been raped in their life. And I'm always sitting there like, and it's the same shit. I hear this with like the starving kids commercials, right? The
Yeah.
starving kids commercials. They're like, 1 out of 5 children will go hungry tonight in the United States. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, they won't.
Yeah.
It's
No,
the
they
same.
won't.
They came up with the name, the number, the same way that they came up with the Karanka numbers, right? That 3 billion people have gotten the Karanka and have gone. When it's, I don't know, it's like 3 people or something.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm saying. It's like
It's hyperbole.
I put this challenge up one time because a liberal was arguing this with me, and they're like, no, really, it is. It's like 1 in 5 children in the United States will go to bed hungry. I'm like, I'll tell you what, give me the number of any child right this second that's actually going to go to bed with an empty stomach, right? And I'll arrange to have a meal taken to them right this second. And so
Like-
anybody I know, I could literally raise the money for that 1 second, and Uber Eats will be there with a meal for the child. Where are they at?
It's
They
like
got
that.
nothing.
It's like that Louis C.K. joke about like first world hunger and third world hunger. Like first world is like, I'm starving to death. Like I could eat a donut.
Yeah.
My stomach is empty.
I just, it's just absurd to me. And then they always have Sarah McLachlan, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And she's singing her little song like she does with the dogs or whatever. And it's like, dude, just stop. Okay. 1 in 5 children in the United States are not going to bed hungry tonight. You're full of shit.
Being tortured.
A lot of time is a woman that oftentimes a witch. Of course, a man can be too, But I believe women is accused more of being witches around here than men.
Yeah.
The tide of German immigration to Pennsylvania started in the 1680s, about the time the European witch hunts ceased. People arrived in Philadelphia, and by the 1730s, they were spreading west and south on the Great Wagon Road.
Okay, so see, like this is a good point here too. Just to kind of go back to what we were saying before. When my little shits don't eat dinner, I send them to bed hungry. So I don't even think that the commercials even take that into account. That you might be like, hey, look, no dinner for you because you're a little jerk, right? And like some parents do that occasionally, and it's okay. You know what I mean? Like
Sarah
you
McLachlan.
won't eat your broccoli, well then you don't get the steak either. You little jerk. Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Sally Struthers.
Sarah McLachlan's outside the window tonight. This
Yeah.
little Billy is going to bed hungry.
It's going to bed hungry. 1 in 5 little Billies. Don't be like little Billy and go to bed hungry. His parents took away his juicy steak because he wouldn't eat his broccoli.
Old porch on the side of their house with a bonnet on her head and her eyes closed, just sitting there. And she was supposed to be a witch. She had 2 grandsons, and they always went to visit the Groves boys. The grandsons' names was Everett and Earl, and the Groves boys' names was Brooks and Arch.
And done.
But the Groves boys would never go back because they had heard about Aunt Eunie's witchcraft. But this night they did. They went home with the boys to stay all night. And
Their names were Jakin and Boaz, and they were the most wonderful pillars of our society.
It's true.
They'd put their go dry and they was sucking young calves, but the milk was going someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Witches. I had this.
So what's she saying there, Baze?
She's saying, okay, there's that scene in the movie The Witch, which is pretty accurate
That's
as far as this
awesome.
stuff goes. Yeah, and
Yeah.
what happens is the daughter gets sent out to milk the cow.
Rachel,
And
they would
there's-
just steal almond milk from the neighbors.
Yeah. The lactose intolerant witches stole the almonds off the
Yeah,
trees.
somebody said, why didn't they just make soybean milk? But like these people, you talk about witchery.
Right.
These people would have a fit if they a soybean. Right. No, but she milks the is and like the blood comes out, and that's like the first sign in the movie when they've been witched. And then later the witch like lands on the barn and is actually like the milk is. So in other words, what it's saying is like they're saying that like if you steal the milk and you get the milk, it's going to be the blood of a person or someone else, because there's a equilibrium thing Like you take from something and then you give to somebody else in terms of like witchcraft. You're taking
She
something
was-
from yourself.
She was also talking about how people were milking the cows and it was like going in the bucket, but then they'd look and there was no milk in there, so it was going
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the person who actually had the milk. Yeah,
Right.
and it's being transported through sorcery to this other person's butt. And you know, Lady Macbeth. I mean, to bring up Shakespeare. Sorry.
Typical.
Lady Macbeth brings this up when she says to
So
milk.
smart, Bates.
milk-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I read
smart. Look at how
Shakespeare.
smart he is. I read Shakespeare.
You guys ever hear of Shakespeare before?
Yeah. Not to name drop or anything,
Right,
guys.
Guys, did you know that Basil Analyzer is smart? Did you guys know that?
No. I read it in crayon. The crayon version. So no,
The pop-up edition, Macbeth.
Right. But like milk is like a potent element, right? And so Lady Macbeth tells Macbeth at one point that he's too full of the milk of human kindness. And then in another part, when she does her big soliloquy at the beginning of the play, she talks about she would rather than break her oath to her husband, she would take her pluck the nipple from the child's boneless gums and dash the brains out. She says take my milk for gall. So like her mother's milk becomes gall, it becomes acidic, it becomes acid in the mouth of like her enemies. Yeah. So I guess that's what these people are talking about. It's just transported through sorcery.
Everything doable for us. You know what I mean? We couldn't even do the show without it. This is not the normal content we do, but I do enjoy doing this every once in a while with these guys. We're going to try to run them twice a month through the Looking Glass, but I'm having a ball with it. Talking shit about these Appalachian witches. I mean, deconstructing this video.
We're analyzing their culture. They're
Yes.
beautiful and
Yes.
historic culture.
I did not mean to say talking shit about these old witches. That's not in any way, shape, or form what I meant to say. So,
And there's the old chimney still remains there. And this story was told to me by my mother.
by the way, not a single person so far in this documentary has been above a 3, right? Not. I mean, am I lying, guys? Has there been anybody in this entire documentary who's been above a 3?
Well, the one plus is that I'm sure they can cook. You know what I mean? So,
But yeah,
gotta
using
count
their
for
neighbors,
something.
using their neighbors' post milk, maybe.
look, I don't care where it comes from. All right, as long as it's a hot meal. I'm
These
happy.
aren't the regular Appalachian, chicks. All right.
Says the lady said she used magic to break spells placed on her family. What are your opinions on this? Is it possible to break a spell with counter magic?
Without. She's saying without counter magic. And no, you should never use magic or sorcery or witchcraft. You should pray to God, and we're not to fear any of the machinations of the devil, dude. It's all pathetic and weak, and literally believing in it is what gives it its power, most of the time. So just don't worry about them witches, and when you find them, we'll burn them at the stake. That's what
milk,
That is a really good question, though, because a lot of people get wrapped up in that. A lot of the Mark Passio natural lore. You need to learn magic to fight magic, and no. You don't need to practice magic ever.
And Rosa died.
I mean, even as these guys are explaining this, it sounds like just a ton of coincidences.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a ton of trying to tie things together that aren't really tied together. Just trying to find links between things that aren't even there.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it sounds like to you, EPL?
Yeah, it just sounds like a bunch of bored people up in the hill. It's been 3 weeks since the last hoedown, and they need something to fill their time with. So
It's definitely, it's definitely
witches.
superstition, and I guess living with the constant threat of death, right? And like that all by yourself out there or whatever. They start to see these things. I mean, there's we still get these superstitions, especially the bird gets in your house, somebody in your family's going to die, they say, or when you're in the, I got a whole thing about superstitions.
Okay, well, I didn't know that one, but now that I do, it's very concerning to me. Okay?
Yeah, there's
so why don't you stop telling me what these superstitions are?
There's another one. If your name's Andy, you turn into a giant jerk, something like that.
You guys just been roasting the hell out of them.
Somebody said, doesn't that something about voodoo stuff? And that chicken thing is real voodoo, because that ties back into hang
on, I gotta go. You guys entertain the audience for a second. I'll be back.
Yeah, Jerry can.
Let me tell you about this Andy guy. All right, this Andy guy is a real piece of work now.
the voodoo is like, you know, they always sacrifice the chicken and stuff, right? And you don't need to be sacrificing animals anymore. You don't need to do that. But they sacrifice the chicken, and then they use the feathers and they put that in the pillow, and then the pillow that the person sleeps on makes a death crown, right? And the death crown, they say, is like that. Imagine a crown of death. That's like things gonna burn. It's gonna burn.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot about death that these people like. The thing about the bird in the house, somebody in the family's gonna die within 7 days. Or like, you know, when you're talking to somebody and then it gets all quiet and they say a ghost just walked all over your grave. Right.
Right.
You ever heard that one?
Superstitions. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Superstitions seem to result from boredom for sure. And as you were talking about sacrifices, most magic, you know, as a sort of foundational principle, most magic requires a sacrifice, you know, of some sort or another. It's nasty stuff. And I definitely was glad that super chatter asked that question about learning, you know, to cast spells, to fight spells, or how to break a spell and things like that.
That thing you were talking about a little while ago about Jerry, about like not fighting magic with magic. Like they might have already said it or they say it later, but the girl says like when the devil comes around, you're supposed to cuss at him or cuss at the witch, but they never talk about like praying.
Anyways, that Andy guy, I'm telling you, he's no good. Andy's no good, man.
Listen, there was this old moon doctor named Andy who came over. He had 3 pieces of toenail and of some hair.
What's up, Andy? We weren't talking about you at all. I promise.
My dog was going ape shit. That was I think there was a raccoon on the porch. My dog was going ape shit.
Oh no, you know what that means?
Yeah, it means shoot it. That's what it means.
That means the moon doctor is going to come and visit you within 33 days.
Okay, you guys are really starting to creep me out, and I'm getting very scared over here. I'm playing the video, okay? Worldview. You have to admit that witches are real because there's lots of self-described witches. Whether their witchcraft works or not, it's a totally different thing. But clearly, there are people who do spellcraft and things like this, whether you think it works or not. That's
Brenda has a habit of denying reality, you know. So
that's a whole different ball game. But you can't deny witches are real. I mean,
they're not real.
To me, where you get them, but they call them the little black Bible. Take that little Bible,
a grimoire.
And it goes on a spring where it's running from the sun.
I don't know where they get them. She looks at a box full of them behind her. I don't know.
It's ninjas running, waiting the sun. And that left down in the garden hollers running direct toward the sun. Take that little black Bible and go to that stream, strip off, and wash in there. Take a bath in that water.
This gets dark.
You're as free from him as the water on your body. And then it turned out to be, you go according to the black Bible, the witch Bible. I had a first cousin that had one of them.
So an inverted baptism, basically.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, I wish you could read one of them.
No.
It explains in there what to do, when to do it.
While these practices come,
the most unbelievable part to me of this whole story is that these people can read.
from old family sources, the basis for this belief as to how to become a witch is found in the Witch Bible. A book commonly known as the
Key of Solomon
or the Black Bible is attributed to King Solomon through the 1st century writings of Flavius Josephus.
Yeah, but they recently found out that was just like a 15th century hoax.
It's a medieval forgery.
Yeah.
Moon doctor coming on down the hill to get that frown. I mean, but it's crazy because these people are in the hill country, right? They're in the hollers.
That was of an unnecessarily long banjo intermission.
I thought it was the best part of the whole documentary.
These people are doing Al Crowley rituals, though. I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, remember when Lady Goggs was sent out there by Marinka Abramovic? That's the same thing. She said, how do I be a witch or whatever? How do I get famous? And she sent her out there for 3 days, and she took her clothes off and went out down to the stream and probably ran away from the sun with the black book of death.
Yeah.
You know, and made the same kind of oath. It's the same sort of thing. It's not, I guess it's not unique to these people.
Yeah.
I prefer the people who sell their souls at the crossroads. Thanks. I think that's you know,
Make better music.
Yeah, way better music.
You talking Bone Thugs now?
The tree of life, religious icons,
Oh yeah, it just
heavenly
says holy,
bodies,
holy, holy.
and still to be explained symbols reflect their ethnic and religious makeup.
Oh,
Unmonetized.
Okay, so all of that's
So-
essentially true. There's not much there that's inaccurate when I was looking into it. So especially the magic square rune, that is part of a the numerology uses that. There's also hexers who use that. It's going to spell the same thing multiple times each way. It's all kinds of crazy shit.
a
right?
black cube, an Enochian cipher. If you buy a property and you get into the barn and it's got a black cube, Enochian cipher with sigils on it spelling Satan and Tenet, then just what do? I don't know, just burn the barn down, build a new one.
You contact your realtor, you see, and you bitch
Right.
them out.
Basically for like the last 15 minutes, and here going forward just drags. You know what I mean? Because they ran
Really?
out.
No.
They
I can't
ran
see this
out.
one dragging
Yeah,
at
it just
all.
drags. You know what I mean? But the thing is like there's a lot of interesting stuff that's in the documentary. The problem with it is it's just boring as shit. You know what I mean? That's the whole issue with it.
Right.
So I was looking at this, I was like, I want to cover this, right? But the one that's the most informative is by far the most boring, you know. But I thought it was interesting. They go up and they take all these old timers and they interview them and they find out about, you know, dish rag milk, and they find out about, you know, the fact that they're drilling holes in apple trees. And was it mass hysteria, man?
I honestly think so. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of mass hysteria. I mean, these, like you said, this goes from far back, right? So there's some reality here, but I don't know. I get the feeling that this is just stories that they tell that they find interesting, you know.
I think the mass hysteria occurs more like with the stuff that dealt with the Puritans, you know, in Salem, because they're all in like one place packed together.
Right.
But this deals more with like a solo hysteria, you know.
Yeah.
They're alone.
These little isolated towns. I mean, what do you think? Like some of these places may have only had 100 people, 90 people, 80 people in them.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, I don't know. I think that it's certainly passed down. It's just like this, like loneliness and by themselves. And they really haven't mentioned much the Native American element to this, which is that
You said witches. You
Yes,
said
I said
witches. Hi, he said the thing. He did the thing.
Which is that like they're
You did it
walking
again.
around. I
Did
know
it
they're
twice.
walking around in the mountains and they like fall on an axe handle and it goes through their shin bone. And then some, you know, shaman comes along and sets their leg and they're like, "You're a magic man. Teach me the magic. I'm gonna mix it with stuff." And then one person comes over and has the, you know, the Goetia or whatever, and then it's like, "Hey, this sounds kind of cool." And they're like, "Oh, there's nothing else to do." I don't know. I guess that's how this all came about. But
Well,
it's,
the whole thing with the so I can never pin any of it down, right? You know, one of the reasons I'm so skeptical of witchcraft in general, especially this kind, is because it's always a friend of a friend of a friend, and went out and saw milking the post, and then when they were done milking the post, the cows came in and they were milking blood out of the cow. You know what I mean?
Right.
None of them are ever like, "Yeah, let me show you real quick how you milk this post." You know what I mean? We're gonna go out, bury an axe in there. We're gonna milk the post.
well, I wonder if they do that within their like circles within circles, right? If you're, you know, initiated into their little hidden thing and then they do it. Otherwise, I guess they can't do it out in the open because then it's like, you know, the regular guy over at the farm's going to hear about it and then they're going to get hanged or burned or whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't
Yeah.
take this stuff very seriously at all. You know, I mean, witchcraft is real. You know, there are, you know, sorcery is real, but I don't think that it pales in comparison to God and to the church. So, and I tend to think that a lot of these stories are really just stories that they find interesting to tell. And it's like, ooh, special! I'm a special boy. I got the powers. You know.
So my answer to this is no. I don't think that as a whole it's fake. I think that people can project their will, and they've been doing it forever and ever. And everybody seems to use different mechanisms in these different occult groups or this type of thing. But it always seems to come down to a projection of will to make bad things happen to other people. And there's enough anecdotal evidence that that I'm fairly convinced that there must be something substantive to it. But what do I think as a whole? I think most of it is a bunch of shamanistic mumbo jumbo, a bunch of hoodly daddle and bullshit, right? But I think that there are some serious people out there who, they sit around all day pontificating about how to do harm to somebody, and maybe unconsciously you start kind of moving towards doing that without even realizing that you are. That's part of the metaphysical end of witchcraft. It's a bizarre phenomenon.
Yeah. Witchcraft's bad, okay?
Yeah.
It's real bad.
It's not good. It's not good. So yeah, I think that there's definitely some truth to some of it. You know what I mean? If you save the blood of the lamb, the witchcraft has no power over you.